number one. Make a decision. One of the things, if you've been to a number of success days, one of the things that you'll often hear in a testimonial is, I've been around the business for a while, blah, 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 and it started to happen the day I decided to decide. So we have a marvelous opportunity, we have a fantastic opportunity, we have an untapped opportunity. All of that is useless to you as an individual unless you decide to take advantage of that opportunity. There's a phrase that I heard years ago that says, take the opportunity of a lifetime in the lifetime of the opportunity. It's worth writing down. You know, we're going to grow for years and years and years, but at the moment, it's a massively untapped opportunity. How would you feel sat in a success day 15 years from now when there's not 1,800 5cc qualifiers, but there's 18,000 5cc qualifiers? Do you think that's going to be a tougher opportunity? Of course it is. At the moment, it's wide open as an opportunity. So my advice is decide to decide. Leave this room today making the decision that you will not procrastinate. Procrastination stops all progress. And we're brilliant at it. Why do today what you can put off till tomorrow? You know, I'll start my diet next week. I'll quit drinking next week. I'll quit smoking next week. We're brilliant at it. What we need to do from a weekend like this, when we're inspired, when we've seen so many great examples of people who walked the walk before us, is to decide that from tomorrow onwards, we're really going to take advantage of this opportunity. Who's up for deciding to decide? Okay. Tip number 2, commit to learning the skills. Now, this weekend we have had so many brilliant tips on mastering that cycle. But as with mastering anything else, knowing about it isn't enough. Doing it is what it's about. I'm a keen amateur golfer and I would love to get my handicap down. I can watch as many videos about golf, and I'm always watching the golf on the television. I can read as many books as I like about golf, but the reality is my handicap is unlikely to come down unless I spend more time on the golf course. Is that fair? So if I want to be a master at communication, which we heard Andy talk about today, become great at asking open questions, become a brilliant listener, which would make me great on the phone, it would make me great doing a one-to-one. I need to do a lot of it. I would suggest that often we're not achieving what we want to achieve because we're simply not doing enough of it to get good at it. Would that be fair? Sometimes we think we're doing more than we actually are. So commit to learning the skills, because if you learn those skills, what you'll find is your statistics get better and better and better. But more importantly, you can then become a master at coaching those skills. So when we talk about skills, we talk about communication skills, we talk about leadership skills, we talk about coaching skills. The more you do something, the better you get. And that applies to pretty much everything in life. Once we start to master things, they become habits. When we first start to do something, it's not a habit. Sometimes it's even uncomfortable. But repetition creates habits. And the important thing for us is to make sure that we have the right habits. You've probably observed this, that we become creatures of habit. Some of the habits we have are brilliant. They're conducive to us moving our business forward. Some of the habits aren't so conducive, but people's habits are amazing. Not that I go to the gym very often. You can probably tell that by my physique, but occasionally when I'm in the gym, which is the Warwickshire in just close to the office, there must be, in the locker room there, the gents' locker room, there's got to be 100 lockers. And often I'm in there in the daytime, and, well, not often, but when I'm in there, it's in the daytime. Place is empty, I'm getting changed. I'm amazed how many times somebody comes in and wants to use the locker right next to the locker I'm in. No, that's not because I'm attractive, it's because they always use that locker. That's how much people are creatures of habit. It drives me absolutely mad. So think about our habits. Are they positive habits? If they are, that's great. If they're not, then we need to change those habits. We need to be green and growing, not ripe and rotten. We need to make sure we've got the right positive habits. And the biggest habit I think we need to master is mastering the habit of managing our time in the right way. I loved the shot today. I think it was Louise Mackenzie who put a shot of her diary on the screen. We all have 24 hours in a day. Some people seem to squeeze more out of their 24 hours than others. Start to create great positive habits, and particularly the habits around time. We form great habits. Next tip, tip number 4, is to think bigger. I talked earlier on today, at the start of the day, about sometimes the baggage that we carry, those false ceilings that we have. When we go for a job, we'll go for one only a little bit higher than the salary we're on at the minute. Our environment, for the most part, creates our thinking. And when we come into Forever Living and we start to talk about goals and setting dreams, I understand that it can be difficult to imagine anything other than your current set of circumstances. Thinking bigger will inspire us. Seeing past the challenges that we have today will help us to get to a better future. And if you want any great examples of thinking bigger, those of you who have kids will see that kids still have the ability to dream. Who's got kids in the room? You know, if we ask your kids, if we got them on the stage today and ask them, for example, what would they like to be when they grow up? It'll be, footballers, astronauts. It'll be big things, won't it? If we ask them what car they'd like to drive when they grow up, it probably won't be Ford Focus, Renault Clio. I apologise, by the way, if you drove here in a Ford Focus, or I realise that was in really bad taste. But you know what they're going to say is they're going to say Ferrari, Porsche, Bentley. That's what they're going to say, isn't it? But as we grow up, as we go through school, our dreams get squashed. It's interesting, sometimes when we analyse our database to see people get started in Forever, their Forever business grows, and it often plateaus around about the same income level that they were earning in their job. Really interesting. Almost subliminally, people go, I can't see past that amount of money. You are in business for yourself. You have a vehicle that can make you, if you wish, a millionaire. You'll only get there if you start to think bigger. So start stretching your goals, stretching your thoughts. Shoot for the stars or the moon. Is it the moon? Shoot for the moon. If you miss, you'll end up amongst the stars. Tip number 5. Let go of the baggage. We all have tapes running in our head, or we have dual conversations going on. We've got a parrot on each shoulder. One says, "You can do it," and the other one says, "Don't be ridiculous, you haven't done anything so far." Anybody got those voices? Everybody's got those voices. Sometimes the voices in our head have been created by things that people have said to us in the past. Can you recall any of those conversations? On the day I was leaving school, which was basically it was mutual agreement between me and the headmaster. We'd both had enough of each other, basically. He said to me, "Parker, you'll either end up broke or in jail." True story. That was his motivational leaving speech. He actually might have been smarter than I thought, because he might have realised that was probably what was going to fire me on to prove him wrong. But if that hadn't been the case, that might have been a tape that had run in my head for a long time, and you might have tapes running in your head. Being more conscious of the way that we think helps us let go of some of the thoughts that aren't conducive to moving forward, and replacing them with thoughts that are positive. How conscious are you of your thoughts? You need to be conscious, because you need to let go of some of the negative voices and replace it with positive voices. And my observation is sometimes we're not as conscious of our thoughts as we should be, and therefore it's difficult to let it go. Most people that I meet and get into a dialogue with, if I were to ask them whether they were a positive person, they would probably say, yes, I'm a pretty positive person. And yet, I've met thousands of people who are really negative, who were thinking they were positive. Does that make sense? You might think you're positive. If I was to meet your 10 best friends and ask them, how do you feel after you've had a conversation with Bob or Joe or Joanne or whatever your name is, what would they say? Would they say, I always feel uplifted when I've hung out with Bob? Or would they go, whoa, it's draining? You know, are you the sort of person who lights a room up on the way in or the way out? We'd love to think the way in, and it has to be the way in, because we said earlier on, people by people first. It's important that I'm conscious of my thoughts so that I can make sure that I've got the right energy and the right thoughts, and I begin to let go of the things that are holding me back. You can change your mood. You can decide when you wake up in the morning whether it's going to be a positive thing or a negative thing, and make sure that let go of the things that are negative and focus on the things that are positive. Music can do that for some of us. For me, music's brilliant. If I am leaving a house in the morning, I'm not feeling quite as energized as I might be, I literally have a playlist that is called Going to Work Playlist. It's true, it's on my phone, anybody can see it. And when I've got just about enough tunes on to get me to the office even in a traffic jam. But by the time I get to the office, I'm buzzing. Staff think I'm crazy. But it works. So let go of the things that are holding you back and focus on the things that are going to help you move forward, and maybe you'll use some things to do that. Next tip, and most importantly probably, decide to work your backside off. I love the picture of the ant here. Pushing, look, I don't know what that is. Is it a meatball or something? It looks good though. Speed of the leader is the speed of the pack. We talked earlier on, if there's an incentive, go for it. Work your backside off. Work harder than anybody else in your team. And sometimes you're working hard and it doesn't look like things are happening. But somebody said yesterday, hard work beats talent every time. Hard work beats talent every time. Now, if you've got talent and you work hard, you're in absolutely the right place. But I believe that very many people's businesses are not moving as fast as they might be because they're simply not doing enough. Think about your business sometimes more as a conventional business. You know, if you had invested in a shopfront premises and you were retailing in a conventional way, you know, if you didn't open your shop for a few days, you wouldn't be surprised if there was no money in the till. It's the same with our shop, which is our mouth. Open it every day. Work hard every day. Even if it's an hour you've got or 2 hours you've got whatever it is, it might be a small amount of time you're building your business around. Make sure you focus and you work hard in that time. And if you do that, you begin to get results, your skill levels will be better, and your business will move on. And then finally, believe. We've talked a lot about belief in the last few days. And I understand that in the early days it's hard to get that belief, but it's absolutely critical. If you were to draw a circle now on your piece of paper, at the top of that circle put belief. At the right hand side, is that 3 o'clock or 9 o'clock? 3 o'clock. Told you I wasn't good at numbers. Put attitude. At 6 o'clock, put actions. At 9 o'clock, put results. If we believe we can do something, then the action that we take is driven by a positive attitude. So if I believe in something, my attitude is, if I speak to that person about my business, I'm going to get a yes. When I take the action, what I transmit, apart from the words and the body language, is a fundamental belief that the outcome will be positive. And 9 times out of 10, the result is positive, and that feeds my belief. Conversely, if my belief at the top is, nobody will want to join my team, that's my attitude. So when I communicate in a way that isn't really very inspiring. So I take the action, but it's not in an inspiring way because my attitude is nobody will want to join my team, and I actually create the outcome of no, I don't want to join your team, and that reinforces the belief. So our beliefs are really, really important. It's fundamental that you start to believe that you can be successful. It's fundamental that you start to believe that you can be walking across this stage in the next few months, that you can be manager, senior, soaring, sapphire, whatever it is. It's fundamental to your success. And if I could give you one tip more than any other tip, it would be to work on your belief more than you work on anything else. Because when you really start to believe that the future can be better than the present, you'll have the energy, you'll find the words, you'll take the actions that are necessary to make those changes and to make it happen. One of the great things about belief in forever is we can borrow other people's belief. Across this stage, every single success day, you see people like you. And when you hear them speak, you realize, irrespective of the fact they might have come from a slightly different background or walk of life, we are more alike than different. And if they can do it, you can do it. There's so much evidence around us that as a vehicle, Forever Living can work for lots and lots of people. And it's not about where they came from, it's about where they want to get to. And along that journey, you need to make some changes. You need to decide. You need to perfect your skills. You need to start to believe, and you need to work on it day by day. And if you do that in a relatively short period of time, I would say somewhere between 2 and 5 years, you can develop something that becomes a legacy income. Now, in my opinion, it's worth giving up some time. It's worth making some changes. It's worth having a different mindset for 2 to 5 years to be in a different place, to be financially secure. Who thinks that's worthwhile? Because what's the alternative? The alternative, one round of applause. That was it, just one person clapping. The alternative, as illustrated by John yesterday, is not a great alternative. I would hate to be sat in my deck chair on the beach when I get to retirement and to be thinking about the things I hadn't done. I want to be there thinking about the things I have done. I want to be thinking about the legacy that I've left and the number of people who have positively benefited as a result of having the courage. And I want you to feel that way too. The successful people who walk across this stage every time we have a success day are a little bit like the story of Roger Bannister running the 4-minute mile, when back then even the doctors said it was impossible for an athlete to run a mile in 4 minutes. But when Roger Bannister did that because he believed he could, shortly after that, so many athletes broke that 4-minute mile barrier. And we have so many brilliant examples in Forever Living, particularly in the UK, of people who have broken through those false ceilings, broken through those barriers. This may not be an easy journey, but I promise you it's going to be a worthwhile journey. If you adopt the principles you've heard over the last day or 2 days, if you change that mindset and start to believe, if you have the confidence and courage to share your story and our story with everybody that you meet, I promise you the world can be a different place for you. I hope you've had a great 2 days.